Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. All right, I will let a few of you get here. Oh, God. What am I doing on my phone? I don't know what I'm doing on my phone. All right, perfect. Yes, view. We are going to be joined by Simedar of Skin Folks today, talking allyship with brands and favorite ingredients for black skins. Hello, Simedar.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I must admit, okay, I have a towel here because it was an hour ago, I finished a workout that my husband does. He's currently out of town, but he does it, and I still cannot catch my breath. I'm showered, but I have a towel.
Oh my God. I totally understand. I went to the grocery store earlier and feel like I've been sweating since then. So I didn't even really do a workout. And I'm like, oh my
But
God.
you're in New York, right?
I am. Yes.
So
yes.
is it like 150 degrees?
I mean, I didn't even check the weather today, but it feels like that. It's been raining. So it's like that hot, wet heat.
Yes.
Which is like more, it's like choking you.
Yes,
So,
and you can't you can't get any relief from it.
exactly. So I'm kind of like, it's a nice day, and I feel like I haven't really left my house in a couple of days, except for when I went to the grocery store earlier. But I'm like, it's too hot. I'm not trying to get in there.
I would be the same way. Like, I have this love-hate relationship with heat. If I had a favorite season, it would be summer, certainly. But then for me, it's summer by a beach or summer by a pool or summer by a body of water.
Right.
Not summer dressed up, walking down the street in a hot, humid environment.
Right, with the mask on and like sweating buckets into the mask. Like, yes. Oh my God.
Can't forget the mask.
What everyone has been talking about, like all my clients have just been like, okay, so how do I deal with maskne, like acne under the mask? And I'm like, I mean, we could work on it, but unfortunately, you got to keep wearing the mask. So,
well, and I feel like, right, it's like we can deal with it, but then it's sort of, you have to keep wearing the mask. So like, right, we can work on it, and then it's just.
So like when you're dealing with regular acne, you can try to get to the source. So whether it's like, the products that you're using, the routine, the, foods that you're eating, you can cut those out, but you can't cut the mask out. So it's like, if you're getting acne from the mask, like you're probably going to keep getting acne from your mask. I'm sorry.
I know. Find ways to stay indoors then and not wear the mask if that's
right. Exactly. So just stay inside. It's fine.
Which I know everybody doesn't have that luxury. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
And I wanted to start with first, if you would give a little introduction on yourself and your page, Skin Folks, in general as well, so people can learn a little bit about that.
Totally. So, hi everyone watching. So I am a licensed esthetician. I started Skin Folks like a year ago now, almost a year. It's maybe like been 10 months, but basically kind of when I was at the end of my aesthetics program, I was like, I really want to do an event to bring skincare people together. I was engaging a lot with it online, but was like, I want to have a skincare event that people can go to, especially kind of thinking how you've got these skincare PR events that are very exclusive, and the brands will have them, but if you're not an influencer, if you're not an editor, you don't really get the chance to just like go and kind of have a fun night that's revolved around skincare. So I really wanted to do that, but then also from the perspective of trying to encourage Black people and people of color to engage in the skincare industry and feel like there's a place for them. It's no secret that the skincare industry and the beauty industry, pretty much, I mean every industry, but specifically beauty, has really ignored people of color, even though we're spending our money just as much as anybody else. So when it comes to marketing, when it comes to hiring on the back end, at every touch point of the beauty business, people of color and Black people are just really ignored. And so one of the direct results of that is that a lot of Black people will say, oh, well, that product's not for me, that product's for white people. I don't need to, I can't use that, or I don't need to use sunscreen. So there's a lot of misinformation. And then there's also a lot of just like lack of feeling like you belong and like you can participate in skincare. And so there's like the fun part of skincare, the luxury, the enjoyable part of it that I really want to expand the reach. But then on top of that, really what Skin Focus is about is like access to healthcare, because that's really what skincare is about. It's about treating your skin, taking care of your skin, making sure that it's healthy. Your skin is the largest organ on your body, as you know. And so when there's a whole host of people who are really left out of that ability to do it well, and have information that makes them feel confident when it comes to buying a new product, why should I use this ingredient? I want to close that gap. And so that's what Skin Folks is about. Creating content, creating a safe space, and then also trying to create engaging opportunities, whether that's virtually like here or offline post-COVID, obviously, so that people can come together and just like feel kind of in communion around skincare.
I love it. I love it. And I will be posting this video on IGTV, and I will tag Skin Folks page and Simedar's page as well. So that will be up as well. So don't worry about that. With what you just said about Skin Folks, I think you want to jump right into allyship, brand allyship specifically, that we'll talk about today. And what that looks like, what that should look like moving forward. Because I think that's actually the biggest thing, is moving forward, not this moment in time that people think is this cute little thing.
Right.
You know, something that I touched on 3 weeks ago on a live that I think is really important, and I thought would be a great way to start, was every brand can participate. Even like for us, we are we're not even two employees. We're a founder, me, and a business partner. Like, but we're them. That's it. That's the yes. We have a warehouse. We have publicists. They're not on staff though. They're all freelancers or contractors. But with that, we can still participate. Everybody can participate. There's no too small. There's no too big. Everybody can participate. And so I wanted to start with that because there's ways to do it. Simply as if you're a small brand of one, even because there's many small independent brands that are one person with some, you know, contracted help. Representation. It can be as simple as representation, which is also what you're speaking about with Skin Folks. And that's just it. It is in every industry, but I think specifically beauty and fashion have been the largest culprits of just completely not representing the Black community.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like, I feel like the most baseline that you absolutely can do is just making sure that your marketing and your Instagram reflect the way that our world actually looks. It's, you know, I really feel like before the protests really happened, I mean, a lot of skincare brands are trying to like scramble and change now. And you can tell if you go back through, but sorry, my air conditioning is going on right now, but
enjoy it.
But you know, you really see this very whitewashed, homogenous look on Instagrams, in the marketing materials when you walk into Sephora and you see the models that are used to advertise the products. And even when it's like just a picture with a hand and a product, if it's always white, you know, you inherently get that idea like, oh, clearly you are marketing to a very specific person. But like, that is the baseline that can happen. And honestly, I am trying to challenge brands, either when I'm talking to people or just in general, to take it beyond that, because that can be very performative, because you can have Black people on your Instagram, but if you're not empowering the Black people that work for you, or you're not empowering Black people in other ways, then you having a brown face on your Instagram like really is not doing anything, because it's not just like trying to do it for show. Like a lot of people with the black square, they're trying to show like, hey, look, I care. And that's great if you care.
Right.
But we need something more than just like a statement of you care. It needs to be, how are you actually making an impact? And so it's interesting because some people say that they don't believe in allyship because they think that it basically kind of like makes it seem as if your allies are separate from what the cause is. And you're like, oh, we're your allies. We're here for you. Like, we understand. And so some people are saying that they really prefer this idea of solidarity over allyship. Because solidarity is, okay, I'm standing in this with you, even if it doesn't affect me completely or in the same ways. I'm here with you, but more than that, I'm willing to compromise and sacrifice certain things to empower you and to fight for your cause. Because sometimes when you are thinking of ways to really empower the Black community, the Indigenous community, the LGBTQ community, it means sometimes you have to not be thinking about your bottom line. It's not about money and profit. It's about what can we do that's going to make an impact. And I think that sometimes like businesses have a hard time like being like, okay, this isn't about money. Like, we're not doing this for money. We're literally doing this because it's just the right thing to do.
Well, yes, that's the most, and to make it clear, yes, when I said representation, that should be a baseline for everybody,
Right.
but
Yeah.
specifically for like a brand of one who, you know, might not have any type of budget.
Exactly. Yeah.
It cannot be performative. And that is, I mean, that's the thing too, like caring versus anti-racism are two very different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's still a big lesson for all of us to learn on that and fix that within ourselves to help the bigger. But I like that about, not necessarily allyship, but what was the word you used?
Solidarity.
Solidarity. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I actually feel like that's crucial.
Yeah.
You know, there's no fingers to point because you can just go do the research yourself. But I was not struggling, but when people were pressuring brands to do something and they hadn't done something, to me, I was like, just leave it. Like, if they haven't stepped up, they haven't stepped up. And I don't know, I still feel like uneasy about that because I just feel like a lot of brands were sort of did something that was sort of just truly a Band-Aid. And I mean, there were, which I hate some of the memes going around, but there was the meme of like the water leaking out of the thing and like putting a piece of tape over it.
Right.
And that's exactly what I felt like was happening. Right. And yeah, if it's stopping there, like, my God, then there's like, don't even bother to me. Right. I mean, I just feel like that's performative activism at its best.
Yeah.
Or worst, excuse me, worst.
Right. Yeah. I think that, you know, on the one hand, I think that pressure works, and that's what protesting is about, you know, placing pressure on people who have that chance. But you're right, you know, sometimes it's been pressuring people to post a black square, and then they go back to posting whatever they posting before, and they're not sharing any more information. They're not starting any initiatives. They're not doing anything. And I mean, I think, one, we have to be mindful of the fact that, like, we can't control everything. And so sometimes there are going to be companies and businesses and people who are doing things that they're not posting on Instagram. And we need to create space for that, because not everything needs to happen on social media. And we have to be very careful about expecting people to always show us the receipts. I mean, I do think that some people, we require the receipts in some situations, but, you know.
And everybody should have them.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? You don't need to post them, but everybody should have them.
Right,
so
exactly.
Ask for it, you can.
Yeah. But if a brand is truly performative, I think what we're going to see going forward is that, like, those brands just aren't going to last because people aren't going to accept it anymore. You can tell when someone is not being real about it. And especially now where employees are leaving companies and they're going public about their experience at these companies. So sure, okay, on the front end, and it might look like you had a queer writer write for you or a Black content creator work with you, but if your Black and brown and queer employees are coming out afterwards saying, no, it sucked to work there. I didn't get paid the amount that I should have gotten paid. I wasn't allowed to move up the ladder the way I should have, you know, X, Y, and Z. Then it's like, you know, so I think at the end of the day, all of the things come to light. So the companies who are being performative, that Band-Aid on the dam is only going to last for so long. It eventually is going to come off and their transgressions will be revealed, I guess.
But I love that, though, what you said, which is great, which I did not think of, because in terms of protesting, too, pressure does work. So, I mean, that is really important. But where it doesn't work is where it's pressure, then performative, followed by zero action.
Right,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's very excellent.
And when there's the zero action, you're like, okay, like, we see you, clocked, and
right, exactly.
The brands that care. Yeah.
Exactly. something that you brought up, and that's what I have. I not took notes. I had notes because sometimes I get a little like scattered and I want to make sure that I covered every point today.
Mhm.
But one thing is like not only hiring Black individuals, but creating a safe and healthy work environment for them, sort of like you were just saying. Like it can't be, oh, this is the percentage of Black employees we have. It has to go, and it has to be a regular thing. Again, not a formative thing, not a meeting a quota thing. And then they have to be in the same safe space environment as everybody else, paid the same for the same amount of work. I mean, these things, it's like I say them thinking like, how is this still a thing? Which I know is like, I mean, which is absurd because of course it's still a thing. Like, yes, it's very clear why it's still a thing. But when you say it, I feel like it's so just again, baseline, like baseline. But these are the things that like have to be put in place.
Right.
For any size company, but this specifically with larger companies that have the means to hire and have a big enough, a space and office that they're going to need to have a healthy environment for their Black employees.
Right.
Safe environment. And because, like you said, and you have employees coming out afterwards saying, right, I wasn't paid, it was awful, X, Y, and Z. And when there's consistency in that, like, that's a big, big problem.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's really nuanced, and I think that there is a lack of understanding of what it's like to be a marginalized person working amongst a majority people who don't look like or identify the same way that you do, and how there's these like microaggressions that play out in the way that you show up at work and the way that people respond to you at work. And like, for me, one of the things that's been like my hair. And only in the last couple of years have I really, started wearing my natural hair out. But really in the beginning, in, my corporate jobs, it would be clear that my natural hair was not really accepted. People would make comments, or they would say things like, oh, I love when your hair is straight, like, or I'd wear braids. I love that. And like, that's an unsafe environment. Like, even though the comments were coming through as a compliment, I love when you have straight hair. The implication is I don't love when you're wearing your natural hair the way it grows out of your head. So that means I'm being hyper aware of how I'm dressing when I go to work, and I can't be myself. And yes, everyone has your work self and your personal self. We can't all be letting loose at the job. But like, if I'm worried about, just the way that my hair looks and whether or not that's going to jeopardize my job, jeopardize the way somebody looks at me in terms of my authority on a situation, like that's something that I should not have to worry about when it comes to working, especially because my hair has absolutely nothing to do with my expertise on skincare. It
should have absolutely zero to do with anything. I mean, it's, yes. Okay, now I have a question for you. And this might not be a popular opinion for a lot of people. Another struggle I have had, and this is not weird, this is not a patting myself on the back moment, this is just what we decided to do as a brand. We didn't want to say X percent of sales is going to X, because I felt like that was using Black trauma as a means to sell a product and to not give. Anyway, so we just did it separately. That has nothing to do with sales personally and with the business. And this is actually a bigger thing, but right now it's this specifically. But like if we ever did that, I would want it to be 100% of the net proceeds go. You know what I mean? So it's not, you're not using Black trauma as a means to sell a product. And that's something that I saw pop up, and I just wanted to get sort of your opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I agree with what you just said. I think that it's really tacky to like launch a product or be like, oh, like we're going to put X amount of sales into something, because really what it is, it's trying to entice people to still spend money with you over another company. And especially when these companies are not owned and operated by Black, brown, Indigenous, and queer people. It's like, so you're just trying to capitalize on this moment. And yes, you're doing good, but you could also just donate, and it doesn't have to have any connection to your money or your profit. And like I said earlier, businesses have a hard time separating social justice from doing what's right, or from doing what's right for their business, from their bottom line. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, without sounding too socialist, I guess, but a lot of this is about redistributing wealth and and making trying to achieve equity. It's because it's not just it's justice, but it's about equity. And when we have been dealing with situations and systems that don't put everybody on the same starting space, that means you're going to have to give more in other situations, which might mean you don't make as much money, or maybe in some situations you have to give up some money. But if you really care about trying to make our world more equitable, trying to address systemic racism and how it shows up in all of our, literally every aspect of our society, then those are the commitments that we have to make. So to answer your question, I agree with you. And I think that anyone who is doing that, unless you're coming out or selling a product that like is in some way impacting the people you're trying to help, or like if you were selling sanitizer or like masks or something like that, like if your product that you're selling is somehow an essential product or something that's going to also impact the world in the way that you're trying to donate, then it's kind of weird to be like, buy my moisturizer and I'll give 20% to Black people. Like,
right. I know. I've had that issue with Pride every year when I see, and now sort of that they've gotten the point, most brands. But yeah, when it first started happening, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you're profiting more than you're giving back. Right. And yes, it's still a business. I understand all of that. But then to me, like, you can get it from other aspects and it doesn't have to be tied to sales. So
right. Exactly. It's not Memorial Day. You know what I mean?
No,
like, we're not doing a Memorial Day sale. Like, this is about people's lives and like their rights. So like making it about like some cute sale is super weird. It's just so weird. When what you really could be doing, which would be so much more impactful, would be like for Pride Month, especially for this year, like highlighting the stories of, you know, Black trans women and men who are in the beauty space, who absolutely need to have their platforms amplified. That's it. It's not about sales. It's literally just highlighting these people who are a part of your industry, who should be a part of your community. That's what you do for Pride, you know, like.
Agreed. Okay, so while this is still very much solidarity as far as I'm concerned, and I know you're going to have a lot to say about this because I feel like I have a lot to say about this, and this is now going more very specifically into makeup and skincare and products that are being brought out, specifically shade ranges. And again, similar to what I just talked about, to me, if we were bringing out a makeup brand, if we ever decided to do color here and it couldn't fulfill the needs of it, we're not bringing it out. Like, and so to me, like that's again, like so that's another thing that has to be, these brands have to step up.
Yeah. And I think specifically as skincare starts to like, I think one of the trends I'm seeing in skincare is we're starting to kind of get these like hybrid makeup skincare products where you've got like the primer that's also the sunscreen, like the glow product that's also your serum and things like that. And so color is starting to become a part of skincare when you got tinted moisturizers and things like that. There is not one tinted skincare product that I have used that works for me. And like, and I'm just like, are you guys serious? And what's crazy is like, I'm not even very dark. You know, there are so many skin tones that are so much darker than me. So if I can't find my skin tone, it's like, there's so many people who you guys are missing out on. For what reason? And I don't want to like call out any brands right now, you know, because I don't want to get in trouble. But I just remember a very, very popular skincare and makeup brand, and they released like a new powder, and it came out in 3 colors. And this was after Fenty. And I was like, how could you possibly think that that is okay? Like, what are you talking about? And when I like said something, I commented, and I got attacked by the stands, you know, and I was just like, oh, okay. But seriously, I was just like, I don't care. Translucent, like whatever, it matches everybody. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
And it is inappropriate for you to launch 3 colors not even just for Black people. No, nobody only can, if you only have 3 options, light, medium, and dark, that it does not help anybody, literally, at all.
I agree. And now, like the bar should have already been there, but there's now Fenty and other companies that have set the bar with shade ranges. So like, it's out there. You can see.
Right.
You can see what people are wanting and what is
Right.
impactful and what is actually making a difference.
But like, if you're not going to do it, it's kind of like, just don't even do it. Because like, why? You see the competition. If you can't match them, you might as well do something else. Like, try a different.
That's how I feel too. I'm like, then we're just not ready to bring out some. For anybody listening, we have no plans on bringing out a color line. Like maybe 5 years from now, but it's not like even on. So don't get any ideas. But we wouldn't if it couldn't represent. Again, that's the other thing too. It's as simple as representing the country, the world. It's not like some specific. Anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. Okay, I'm trying to look at other things that we want to cover. I guess the last probably big thing with solidarity and allyship is for you, what would you like to see in brands going forward?
So it's hard because it really depends on the brand. And like I said, I feel like you can apply anti-racist strategies to literally every aspect of your business because racism is so embedded in our world. Like, people are always like, oh, you always have to make it about race. And the thing is, like, everything is about race.
Yes.
Everything is about race. It's about class. It's about sexuality. It's like everything about our world is about keeping certain people down so that other people can be up. And so, yes, everything has to be an issue. But I think one of the things that I'm really wanting to see is Black creators working more with beauty brands and also being paid. Like, I can't tell you the number of times people have reached out to me, brands that I have zero relationship with, and they're like, oh, we want you to do, a takeover, or we want you to post something about our product and we'll give you free product. And it's like, free products don't do anything for my bills. Like, I need to be paid, especially when white content creators are making thousands of dollars per post, and it's just not fair. So it's not, like I said, it's
and the company's also making money.
You said what?
The company will also be making money on your posts and
exactly.
So
there's a reason you're reaching out to me. It's because you think that, like, my audience, however big or small it may be, is going to somehow benefit you. And so if that's the case, that means that I'm valuable and you should be offering me money, not products that cost like nothing to make per unit on the manufacturing side. So I really want brands to realize that you can't shortchange your Black. If your move trying to amplify Black and brown creators is also trying to shortchange them out of money, then you're doing it wrong. Like, you need to pay people. We need money. It's a pandemic. Like, stop playing. So that's like big thing for me. But also on the other side, like, so, we're estheticians and, working in a spa. I'd really love to see more. I think for me, when I follow Black estheticians and I see the products that they use, I would love to see more professional brands. Well, more professional brands that have diverse ownership, but also these brands making more of an effort to get into those doors that service Black, brown, and queer people. Because at the end of the day, like, Black people aren't going to the Four Seasons to get a facial. They just aren't. So if you want Black people to use your products and you're a professional brand, you need to go to where those people are getting service, which is going to be at their more local shops. It's going to be Black-owned businesses, because that's just really how it works right now. I personally think that treating Black skin and darker skin tones, you don't have to be dark to treat them, but because education on the skincare side, even from, aesthetics and dermatology, is so biased, a lot of non-Black estheticians and skincare service providers don't feel comfortable treating darker skin tones. So they literally will turn these people away and be like, no, I can't even give you a facial. So if you like, you can't say that you're, oh, like we want to connect more with this community, but the doors that you are in, you're not like their customer base does not reflect that. So that's kind of the other thing that I've been thinking about too, because there is this whole side of skincare that's like the professional side, the medical grade side. And there's a lot of problems when it comes to people of color trying to get skincare services in an office, in a facial, at a facial bar, what have you. So yeah.
No, I actually love that because something I have down that I was like, oh, that's not that important. But it is, and you weren't necessarily speaking on this, but to me, that's like a pay it forward moment because everybody is like, oh, I can't do anything. Everybody can do something. Everybody can do something. And it's what you can do. Like every industry has to work from the ground up. And then collectively that makes the whole better. Right. And I love that, speaking specifically about getting products into where Black and brown folks are going for treatments. Like you said, they're not going to the Four Seasons. And that is something a small, a medium, a large size brand can do.
Right.
So it is all those things collectively that is going to make the industry stronger and better and caring for people and Black lives specifically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love that actually. And I think that is an excellent, excellent point. And something I had not thought of. I love that point.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm working with, most of my clients are Black and people of color. And when it comes to, most of their understanding about skincare is coming from what you see in Sephora, what's available in Sephora, and kind of like what their friends are using, which is also going to be heavily influenced by Sephora, and honestly, like what their parents have taught them to use. So there's all of this skincare out here that me and you have access to because we are professionals, but like, your average person isn't going to know what these brands are unless there's like some concerted effort on the brand side to get in front of their face. And they work, like they really work. So it's like there's really no brand that's like only for white people or only for Black people. That's just not how skincare works. So it's just being aware of what's available and then there comes the context of what are the values of that brand, and why you're choosing to use this one over this one, as a holistic standpoint. Right.
This goes into, you might have shared this too, but I know Funmi Monet shared this, and it was, I want to get it right. It was talking about how sort of specializing, supporting Black-owned businesses is, as opposed to having like then going to the store, the grocery store, or another store that's owned by white people and having that be the normal thing. And it's a spectacle for supporting Black-owned businesses, and that sort of being another form of white supremacy, which was really something that I had to sit with and think about because it is very true. Actually, there's sort of this like specialized thing now of, instead of making it the normal thing, and the regular thing.
Yeah. That's so interesting because I feel like that's something I've been thinking about a little bit and just didn't know how to sit with it because whenever all the protests started happening, I was getting a lot of texts from non-Black people apologizing, people who I don't, when it was my friends, no problem, but people who I didn't really talk to that much. And it just felt like people were pitying me. And it felt like, when your one dies and like people reach out to you and they it's like this outpouring of love that's almost a bit awkward because you just like don't know how to handle it. And I was like, I can't put my finger on why this feels weird, but it's because of that like spectacle where this becomes like we need to do this now because we have to be good, when it's just like, it's not so much, no one wants an apology per se. We do want reparations.
Well,
but
yes. Clarify.
But no one's looking for an apology. We're just looking for equality. We're looking for you to be anti-racist. So that's why I was like, don't apologize to me. Go donate or go use your platform.
Do the work. Exactly.
Do something, because your apology to me actually is only helping you. It makes you feel better about your guilt that you're feeling, and then it passes that off to me, where in reality that's exactly the opposite of what we're trying to do right now. So yeah, I think it has turned into a bit of a spectacle. And so that's why I've been thinking of ways that aren't necessarily like, kind of going back to how not everything has to be on social media. It doesn't always have to be about posting something.
Yeah.
It's about what's your business model? How do you structure your business? Who are the content creators that you're working with? Who are the people that are employed by you? Who are your raw supplier manufacturers?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who are these people? Are they getting paid well? Like, trying to interrogate all of the aspects of your business and how you can go about making that more equitable. And unfortunately, like we said, sometimes that does mean to get something that's more equitable, you might have to pay more for it. But at the end of the day, if we are all making that small step to make our world better, it puts that pressure on other people, because it's like, oh no, like I'm not going to, yeah, you're cheaper, but I'm not going to do that because it goes against my values as a company, as a person. And as that becomes the norm, like those companies that are shortchanging their employees, that are not practicing ethics, they won't be in business anymore.
Yeah, and that's a super easy thing to do, right?
Yeah.
By not supporting a brand or a company or corporation that is, selling it cheaper, not treating their employees well, and going elsewhere for usually the same product. It's usually not exclusive to one place unless it's brand specific. But
Exactly. Yeah.
So now let's go into ingredients. Oh, are you reading a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on this before we go
Yes.
into ingredients. Cindy, she said that, she wants to show support, but we don't want to say the wrong thing and make anyone uncomfortable. And that's something that I've been hearing a lot from a lot of non-Black people who are like, I'm worried about saying the wrong thing. And what I'm going to say is that silence is being complicit. It's better to say something. And I think it's ridiculous for anyone. No one is expecting people to be perfect. We're all going to make mistakes. Even me, like, I'm Black and I could still say the wrong thing, like nobody's going to be perfect, and not everyone is going to hold space for mistakes, but like you have to hold space for yourself to know that if this thing really matters to you and you really want to show support, you do it in the way that feels the most organic to you. Like, don't worry so much about being perfect and just do what feels right. And if you're really that confused, like, try to reach out to somebody that you trust and ask them if they'd be willing to give you advice, to look at a statement that you're trying to make or something like that. And that's how you don't get caught up in that, like, oh my God, I'm so worried. Because then once you don't say anything, it looks like you don't really care. And you lose the trust and the support of whether it's your family or your consumers, whoever you're doing this for.
To me, it's similar to trans folks and non-binary and their pronouns. And if you make a mistake with it, you don't make a big deal. You just like correct and move on. And I feel like it's the same thing with this. Like, we all are going to make mistakes. Brands are going to, not all, specifically white people, brands, individuals themselves. And so it's a learning. It's all about learning, and there is no finish line, right? The solidarity and the allyship, there is no finish line. So it's going to be a constant thing. So it is something that, but that was excellent. Excellent.
Yeah. One thing that Angela Davis has said is, like, anti-racism and the fight for social justice and civil rights is an ongoing thing that we have to start incorporating into our lives, like, forever. This is not just like a moment, as you said. Like, this needs to become a part of your life, and you have to search out ways to make this a part of how you operate in the world, because we probably will not see the kind of change that we're trying to imagine in our lifetimes. I hope so, but we may not. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't fight for it, and we shouldn't take those steps towards it, because we're always going to be learning, and more information is going to be coming out. So just say something, do something. It's better than not. Agreed.
Now it's going to seem like a very aggressive switch to another topic, but let's talk favorite ingredients for Black skin specifically.
Yeah.
So do you want to do like you do one, I do one, you do one, I do one, and we can sort of just like
Yeah,
chat?
totally. I think like starting off, I just want to say like, I mean, there aren't really any ingredients that I would actually no, there are some that I would be like never for black skin, but some of them like hydroquinone, like I don't believe
Yes,
that
yeah,
for
yeah.
darker skin. But it's more so for me like understanding how to use these products for darker skin tones and like the understanding of how darker skin functions or like the
Yeah,
nuances
yeah.
rather. I mean, all skin functions the same, but there are nuances. But for me, I think my first one is going to be enzymes. Like, I love enzymes and I feel like they're so underrepresented in skincare. There's very few products that are, at least that are marketed to kind of really show off the benefit of enzymes. They're so gentle. Actually, some of them are gentle. Some of them are kind of crazy. Like
Yeah.
sometimes pumpkin and papain, those can be a little tingly. But like fruit enzymes, I just really, really like being able to use them, especially because I feel like the world is so obsessed with exfoliating right now. Like everybody wants to exfoliate every day at every step of their routine. And so
Mhm.
if we're still going to kind of try to lean into the exfoliation, definitely would try to get more enzymes in there because it's more gentle but still effective for like smoothing texture. I mean, not so great for hyperpigmentation necessarily, but for smoothing texture, supplemental to acne treatments, I'm all about the enzymes.
I love it. Um, but also great point about, right, there are certain like specifics with black skin, but it still is skin. It's still going to have the same like innate function. Yes, there's going to be little nuances here and there, but something of importance too. And I was lucky just because my aesthetics class happened to be 20% black. So when we weren't getting any instruction or information on black skin, those women pushed back. And because of that, I at least was able to get some
Mm-hmm.
beginner's knowledge in school. So if you're a young esthetician or a new esthetician watching right now, push back if you're not getting that knowledge.
Oh man, yes, I did the same thing. I would be like, so why aren't there any pictures of darker skin tones? How am I supposed to assess this condition in a darker skin? And a lot of the professors would be like, you're right, let me change this. And
Yeah.
luckily I had a professor who is from South Africa and she's white, but all of her clients were black. She almost like exclusively worked on black skin and like very dark skin tones. And so her understanding of dark skin was just top tier and she saw my interest. And so she would send me other materials to read. So like piggybacking off of that, like make your voice heard, young esties, even the white esties, it is not
Oh, yeah,
acceptable.
exactly.
Like you need to know how to treat and feel comfortable treating all skin tones. So if you're feeling like you're missing out, like most of your skincare information and knowledge is going to come on your own accord. Yeah. So make sure you're speaking up and asking for it in your classes, and then on the back end doing what you can.
Okay, and then we just keep saying bouncing off of, but it's perfect. It's just going, we're transitioning seamlessly. But because you said enzymes, I'm going to jump in and on the exfoliation spectrum, say lactic acid, specifically for black skins, mainly for the simple thing of black skins usually have a lower ceramide content in their skin,
Mm-hmm.
and lactic acid actually helps ceramide production in the skin.
Yeah.
So it can be sort of a lovely double whammy, really,
Yeah.
to exfoliation, but then also to help to start to repair the barrier and reduce things like transepidermal water loss with something as gentle as lactic acid. So that would be something for me that I would definitely have.
Lactic acid,
Yeah.
one of my fave.
Same.
I would say for acne, when I'm treating darker skin tones who have acne, I probably lean more on like this, well, salicylic, of course, because but then also mandelic acid.
Yes. I have that right down here.
Okay, yeah. Mandelic, I really, really like that because it's gentle as well. It's like lactic, but it also has that kind of like oil control property to it. So I think that it is really effective for people dealing with acne and also hyperpigmentation as well.
Yeah.
I feel like people always like run to glycolic acid, and I mean, glycolic is so good, but it's also so strong, and it's sometimes just too strong for darker skin, mostly because I find that people with darker skin tend to also have more sensitivity. There's this belief that I mean, it kind of extends from racism in medicine, but like that Black people don't feel pain, or that we can stand more pain. So there's this, there's not as much care that's often taken when it comes to darker skin tones, but actually there's a lot more inflammation that occurs in darker skin. And it's so much harder to recognize because we have darker skin. So you can't see the redness as easily as you can in someone with, you know, a Fitzpatrick 1 or 2 or a lighter skin tone. So I tend to try to, I shy away from glycolic, unless you are very experienced. I mean, I use glycolic, but I also do a lot of crazy stuff to my skin. So, right, like when you're an esthetician, you do all types of stuff that you would never tell anybody to do, but that's like, it's in your home. It's fine. Like,
I know. I'm like, I really should take my own advice that I give out instead of like, and I know Nerida Joy is watching and she's going to agree with exactly everything you said. She is white, but she's been doing faces for 42 years and she agree. I know she agrees with everything you've said because I've learned from her and she said the same thing to me.
amazing.
Okay, so then I have a long list.
Mm.
So I guess, because speaking of what we're on, well, you know what I actually like sort of on that realm? For me, then I would actually go peptides, just because peptides, for me, I don't want to say it's not an alternative because that's it's another option, I guess is a better, in terms of like stimulating fibroblast cells and collagen in the skin. So talking about a sensitized or sensitive Black skin via acids and sometimes via vitamin A, you know, another place you can get those fibroblast stimulating aspects are through peptides. So then I would actually say that peptides would be a lovely ingredient that I would incorporate for those reasons specifically.
Yeah. I feel like you don't really see a lot of peptides. I feel like that's what I want. I'm trying to up my serum game right now because I have a lot of cleansers for some reason. I don't know why I have so many cleansers.
You sound like me.
And like not a lot of serums, and all of my serums are exfoliating. And I'm like, okay, Simedar, you can't exfoliate as often as you've been doing. And then I'm like, what are my options here? But some of my favorite serums have been peptides. It's just like the plumping effect that they have. And usually they have, you know, hydrating ingredients as well. Really, really love those. Yeah. Kind of on the hydrating side and the fact that everybody's exfoliating right now. One thing that I've been trying to tell people and like knock into their brains is that when you're treating acne, like proper hydration is like just as, if not more important than exfoliating. Because if your skin isn't properly hydrated, your exfoliant is not going to work as effectively. Like if you do like 5 days of just hydration and then you exfoliate, the effect that you have the day after is so much more pronounced. So I'm always like, let's get you a really good hydrating routine. So like when it comes to hydrating ingredients, I mean, I'm kind of over hyaluronic acid, if we're being honest. I personally don't think it's the best hydrating ingredient. It's just like sexy and people, it's like, it's a marketing thing. Like, sure, it should be in there. It's great. But like also glycerin is not as sexy, but
I love glycerin.
It's so good. And like things like saccharide isomerate, snow ear mushroom, like these things that you don't really hear about that are sodium PCA that are really hydrating. Those are so good. And I just like want everyone to hydrate their skin, please. Like stop exfoliating so much.
It's so true. And if Nerida's still here, I know she's going to agree again, which is making me laugh because it really is so true. That is a big actually issue I'm seeing is that sort of surface dryness and that sort of depleted skin, but then they jump into an exfoliator or to a retinol and a strong retinol at that. And then they're wondering why their skin isn't sort of showing the results, isn't like, and you have to have both. That's the thing. It can't be one or the other.
Exactly.
And especially with an acneic skin, because people are going to be more prone to going for, no matter what we say, harsher cleansers, more exfoliating, deeper exfoliate and constant so very important. What did she say?
Constant.
I heard this on my face. Yes. Okay, so actually on that route, because I have my first 3 things are aloe, glycerin, hyaluronic acid. But so we have a serum in our line, and people always are like, "Is that your hyaluronic?" And I always say no, because it's a humectant serum. Like if you look at the ingredients, sodium hyaluronic's in there, but we also have aloe and glycerin and cucumber and tamarind, which are 4 other different humectants that hold water to the skin. So the reason I don't I like hate calling that out is because it's a part of the formula. It is not a hyaluronic acid
Right.
product.
Exactly.
Like there are products that are water, hyaluronic acid, and preservatives. That's a hyaluronic acid product to me.
Mhm.
That's not what this is. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. There's so many lovely humectants and soothing ingredients. Again, aloe, glycerin. Yes, sodium hyaluronate, sodium PCA is amazing. Yeah, cucumber, tamarind, all of those things, and are so crucial and so lovely at layering and again helping compromise barrier function for whatever reason, whether it's inherent or whether it is from overly sensitizing the skin through acids and through the inflammation that you talked about earlier. So I know that sort of doubled onto what you were saying, but yes, like humectants in general.
Yeah. I mean, your hydrating duo is.
Oh, thank you.
I love that stuff. When I got the duo and the big one, I was like, yes! Oh my God. Also, my roommate is obsessed with all of your products too. She was like, you guys should do a giveaway and then choose me.
Because that's how that works.
I was like, I don't think we are allowed to do that, but noted, okay.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, should we finish with one last ingredient each?
Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna go for hyperpigmentation because that's like #1 issue when it comes to darker skin tone. So honestly, whether you're Black, Asian, Latino, if you have melanin in your skin, usually you're like, oh my God, I have hyperpigmentation. So I'm gonna say 2 because I can't, but 2 of my favorites are going to be kojic acid and licorice. Really, really love those for hyperpigmentation. I think that we have, once again, I'm done with vitamin C, or at least that's not entirely true. Vitamin C is amazing, but I am not really sold on vitamin C like as its own serum, you know, like 15% vitamin C. It's just so irritating. Most people can't really handle it. And there's so many other places to get vitamin C, and it's in a lot of like non-fragrant plant extracts, and it's usually formulated into a lot of products anyway. So like if you don't have your vitamin C serum, you're probably still getting vitamin C, and you're also not irritating your skin with that super low pH of the acid. So I'm like, there's other ways to treat hyperpigmentation. So kojic, licorice, those are the ones that I'm like really leaning into right now.
I love it. And I'm dying because I'm knowing the narrative is watching this now. And like everything you're saying is so something.
I see her comments and I'm like, I'm so glad that being validated.
I love it. And like I always say, I come from the school of narrative joy. So it's amazing. It's perfect. Okay. So I have a few on my list still, but I feel like I want to say just because oils are really important, they're a great emollient. Some can bridge the emollient occlusive gap too. And this isn't necessarily specific for dark skin, but one of my favorite oils is cranberry seed oil, just because it utilizes, I'm gonna say the wrong thing and people will come for me. I believe it's the one oil that has all 8 vitamin E like groupings in it. So it's like a high antioxidant content. And then it also has the correct ratio of omega-3 to 6 to 9. In terms of fatty acids, and it also smells lovely. It has like a really light berry smell to it.
Yeah.
It's unique. It is harder to find by itself. We have it mixed into our oils, but it's something because it also wears really light on the skin. So I would be fine offering it to an oily skin type, and I'd be fine offering it to a drier skin type. And it can also be incorporated. It doesn't have to be an oil. It can be incorporated into moisturizers as well. And there's plenty of moisturizers with cranberry seed oil in it as well. But just giving that emolliency to also slow down any transepidermal water loss. So all of that. But Simedar, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me.
This was so fun. Such a great conversation. I know that we were like, okay, how long? But like we did the full hour.
No, I know. Yeah, exactly.
I know that we could probably keep talking too.
Yes.
This was so fun and like really great to just like get your perspective and like talk about these really important topics. Hopefully the people watching also like felt satisfied, fulfilled by it too.
And got information from it. Exactly. These conversations should continue to happen because it's very important. And so we have to do this again, because it's fun. And sadly, I know, I feel like I'm supposed to move to New York, and that's going to happen on June 20th, which obviously didn't. But we're looking at September, October if things stay like even-ish. So we will eventually have to meet in person, which I know we've before, and it just hasn't worked out. So fingers crossed for that.
Yes.
And yes, thank you everybody so much for watching. Thank you, Simedar. I'm gonna have Simedar's page and the Skinfolk's page linked on this video on IGTV, which will probably go up in 2 minutes once we finish here. But have a lovely weekend, and thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.